family and friends, on this bright and sunny day, we gather here in the sanctuary, a place that has allowed us to lift our prayers in times of gratitude for great joys. But also we gather here often, and certainly today, to lift up those same voices and similar prayers, to express gratitude for a long and spectacular life that brought us so much joy, so much love and goodness. Whether we are Jewish or not, in some special way, something larger than ourselves accompanies us on our life's journey. And so in a house of worship such as this, which has been such a spectacular part of Houston's landscape and such a deep part of Shirley's life and history, I'm glad that we can gather as holidays come and go, as a calendar year changes, to appreciate how all of us are connected to the rhythm of life's nature. And so as we begin our time together, first, let me ask you to silence any cell phones so that we might not be disturbed by them, and then to invite a dear member of the family, CeeLo, to play for us, as she did at David Toomim's funeral so many years ago, Meditation from Thais. a gift. Earlier today, we gathered at the cemetery to accompany our dearest Shirley to her final resting place on earth. For the family, for Ellen and Steve, for her grandchildren Adam, Erica, Jonathan, Nicholas, Caitlin, and Eli. Great-grandchildren, Harper, Sheva, Asaf, Chemda, Jacob, and her sister-in-law, sister in heart, Scythia. And for all of us who were there, it brought to reality, even though we knew that 96 years were many, suddenly they were ended. But now we remember, and the blow is softened as we recall the words of the psalmist who help us to know. From Psalm 16, I have set the eternal always before me. God is at my side, and I shall not be moved. Therefore does my heart exult and my soul rejoice. My being is secure. For you will not abandon me to death, nor let your faithful one see destruction. You show me the path of life. Your presence brings fullness of joy. Enduring happiness is your gift. Death has taken our dearest Shirley Toomim, and we grieve in the world that has been darkened around us. In our silence, we feel sorrow, and when we cry, we feel more alone than ever. Lost in our sorrow, may we find the presence of loving family and dearest friends. God, hear us this day and be with us. For Shirley's love that united us in life, and which death cannot sever, for her companionship that we shared along life's path, and which continues through the tenderness of memory, for the gifts of her heart and mind that brought us so much joy and so much happiness, and is now a precious remembrance. For all these and so much more, we give our thanks to God. Let's join in reciting the words of the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. The psalmist asked, and we learn from him, what is the source of our help? And the psalmist answered, we lift our eyes to the mountains. Our help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your soul, your going and coming, now and forever. When we gathered at the cemetery, I chose to read, and I'd love to read again here, a reading that is so traditional from Proverbs 31. As I said then, there are women who don't want to hear it. It doesn't speak of the modern woman today. But Shirley was modern, classical, traditional. She paved her own way. And though this proverb is called Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor, Chayil means a warrior, a valor person. But that wasn't only Shirley. She wasn't just strong. She was gracious, compassionate, sweet. And so I renamed this proverb just for today. Eshet Chayil Bechemda, a woman of valor and graciousness. A woman of valor and graciousness who can find. She is more precious than fine pearls. Her husband trusts in her, and so he lacks nothing. He does him good, never harm, all the days of her life. She perceives that her labor is rewarding. Her candle burns on into the night. She reaches out to those in need and extends her hands to the poor. She's clothed in strength and dignity, and she faces the future cheerfully. She speaks with wisdom. The law of kindness is on her lips. Her children rise up and bless her. Her husband sings her praises. Many daughters have done valiantly, but you excel them all.
Often at the beginning of our Jewish New Year, we include a very beautiful reading, a teaching that reminds us of the many places we find ourselves throughout our path and our journey through life. It's so very fitting, especially on this day. We have been taught birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey, a going, a growing from stage to stage, from childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion, and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness, and often back again, from health to sickness, and back we pray to health again, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage made stage by stage, from birth to death to life everlasting. We continue now with a song, a psalm of consolation and comfort.
Sand
We have so many words and ways today to remember our dearest Shirley, but the way we have to begin today is to invite her daughter, Ellen, to come and share some words.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to keep this short because obviously I'm a mess right now. So the rabbis and others are going to talk about the wonderful memories we have of my mom, so I'll leave that to them. But I thought it was important for me to come up here to express my deepest gratitude to my mom's caregivers, Laura, Willu, Mary, and Mona. They treated her with such dignity and respect, and I want to thank them and tell them it brought such comfort to not only her, but also to my family. Laura was her constant companion. Where is Laura? Laura, there you are. Laura was her constant companion. Please know you were not just a caregiver, but you were a source of support and strength for me. Please know that your companionship made an incredible difference and will always be remembered with gratitude. I know you truly loved her, and it was clear that she loved you. I will be forever grateful. Laura, I will always consider you part of my family. As many of you know, I was adopted. Whenever I'm asked, am I interested in finding my birth parents, my answer is always, why? What would I be looking for? I could never have asked for a fuller or happier life than what my parents gave me. I had it all. I had it all with the parents that chose me. One of the many lessons they taught me growing up was the responsibility of giving back to the community. I am so grateful for this lesson. I will continue to honor their memory by showing them, see, I was listening to you. I want to thank my friends and family who immediately surrounded me and are giving me the support they know I need right now. Through all the sadness, I have a lot to be grateful for. My mom did not suffer in pain during her last days. She peacefully slipped away at home. I was lucky to have my mom in my life for so many years. We had a very close relationship. I thank all of you for being here today and showing her the love that she earned from each and every one of you.
Like Ellen, we remember Shirley with admiration and gratitude for all 96 years of her life, and yet we still wish for just another moment to share with her. Because in all of her years, there couldn't have been but a rare moment when she wasn't anything but gracious and wise. When she looked around the world, she saw beautiful opportunities. Like a canvas awaiting color and texture, she knew just how to assemble a room or a moment, or how to touch a person's heart to express its inner beauty. Shirley was born here in Houston in 1928. She and her brother Melvin, who preceded her in death, was a trusted brother and business partner. Together they expanded what was a small furniture business into the enterprise we know as Star Furniture, and which was later sold to Berkshire Hathaway. They had a unique business arrangement. As soon as Shirley decided she should be paid for the work she was previously volunteering to do, she told her brother that Every design decision was hers, and that was final. Melvin, always the gentleman, agreed to the terms, but on the condition that he could offer his critique. Owing to many things, but probably to lunch together every day, their business and their friendship thrived. Shirley was ahead of her times. She married David, who preceded her in death, and in all of her days, she demonstrated that she wanted it all. David and she reared a family that brought them so much joy. Though their son Roddy died too young, their daughter Ellen joined them in choosing life after all. Ellen remembers her mother with glowing adoration, as you know. Ellen and her mother had a special bond. Shirley loved her unconditionally and without judgment. They could talk closely and intimately. Ellen could get her mother to laugh, and they became adult friends, which they leaned on each other daily because of it. Ellen grew to admire her mother's example and her mild but effective way of setting boundaries for Ellen to mind. Shirley didn't raise her voice. She didn't raise a hand. Instead, she raised an eyebrow or looked off to the side with that telling look. It was all that needed to be said without saying a word, and no one ever misunderstood Shirley's opinion or expectations. The fact is that Shirley loved to love. She enjoyed the company of others. She wanted others to enjoy her company too. To meet the day, she prepared with the perfect outfit, a pin on her lapel, and scarf when it was necessary. Her hair, makeup, and accessories created a perfect look that others admired and emulated. When you were with her, you had her undivided attention. David loved her for it. Her children knew it. Her grandchildren called her unprompted to have special time with her. Her employees and customers counted on it, and her friends knew it best. Childhood friends followed her through the years where conversation, trips, holidays, and special occasions brought them all together. And a very dear special friend, Joan Alexander, who I know is live streaming today, was like a sister to Shirley. Years ago, Joan and Stanford, Shirley and David shared fences in the backyard with a gate that allowed them to come and go. It created daily opportunities to grow their friendship. Not too long ago, Joan and Shirley sat together to share a treat because it was near Joan's birthday. That's what friends do, and it brought another moment of joy to both of them. At home where the family grew, Sylvia and her family joined them. They were so close that it wasn't always easy to know where the family tree began and where it ended. Sylvia remembers her sister-in-law with gratitude for the gift she was to her. Shirley was all about family. She had family at home, family at Star Furniture, and family in the community where she often volunteered. On Jewish holidays, she loved annual gatherings that told their own stories about heritage and faith. Especially on Passover, her dining room flowed into the living room, and tables were set perfectly for the Seder. Marked Haggadahs told not only the history of our people, but also the history of the people who joined them for years at the annual event. Many of those Haggadahs were signed by their guests, Jewish and non-Jewish alike, as testimonials of their presence and their permanence in the family circle. And the food was extraordinary. Shirley cooked matzah balls to perfection, created the family recipe for chopped liver, and set out her favorite desserts to finish a perfect evening. Shirley was a proud Reformed Jew whose Beth Israel roots run deep. David, Melvin, and Sylvia all served as president of the Beth Israel's Board of Trustees. Shirley served as an elected trustee and also by special appointment. Her duty to the congregation was felt in so many deep ways. Shirley's good taste and decor are found all over our building. Here in the sanctuary, you're sitting in the middle of Shirley's good taste. In the Gordon Chapel, in the rooms that welcome family and friends. Everywhere you look, if you had an opinion on the design she chose, then it was wise to take a page from Melvin's playbook and leave the final word to her. And looking around, you would agree she was right. Shirley believed in building the Jewish future one soul at a time. It explains her passion for children at the Schlenker School, where her name will always be associated with the early childhood program, and at Beth Israel, where we gather as a congregation and community in Wolf Toomim Hall, and beyond the campus to Houston's great Jewish institutions, like Alexander Jewish Family Service, Emery Weiner School, 7 Acres, and Federation. Shirley's vision extended to culture and arts. She believed in the arts' ability to inspire beauty in persons whose hearts were moved by art and music. Shirley and David's names are found in Jones Hall and around the city, where their philanthropy was an expression of gratitude for what they were able to build and share. There was also a special friendship that Shirley and David created through David's work in the Reform Movement Southwest region. With Larry Jake Tchaikovsky and his wife Ellen, they bonded over shared work and a lot of joy. When Jake died in 2010, we all mourned. He was a great personality. To honor the friendship between David and Jake, Shirley and the family gave a gift to Green Family Camp, our regional Reform Jewish summer camp, to which Jake was deeply devoted. And they named the swimming lake, Lake Jake. And a posted sign at Lake Jake tells the beautiful story of their friendship. Such a beautiful life was marred only by that which she couldn't control. The death of her son Roddy, her grandson Joshua, brought enormous grief. But with David's steady hand, they faced the future together. But it was David's death in 2006 that shook the earth below her feet. Feeling lost and in a rut, I remember sitting with Shirley at Sylvia and Melvin's home. I asked her, "Shirley, what strength did David give to you?" She spoke so proudly of him and all about his gifts to her. Then I asked, "Shirley, what strengths did you give to David?" She thought about it and then began to answer. And then she began to hear herself articulate strengths she knew that David admired in her and that she offered him. "You know, Shirley," I said, "those strengths are still in you. They are yours. You can choose to use them any way you wish. Now, what would David want you to do with them now?" She understood the point. When Shirley moved into her new home, decorated to the tens, she began to live again and enjoy all that she wanted to do. Family, friends, temple community, and more filled her days and nights. But if I left you with the impression that Shirley lived only a caviar life, then you must know that one of her favorite places to eat was Whataburger, and with extra mustard. Near the office where she was a familiar customer, or out with her grandchildren where they loved to take her for lunch, it just hit the spot. And I'm told that she was such a familiar customer at the Whataburger near the store that the employees came out on a tray with extra mustard just for her. She loved rooting for UT and celebrating all their wins as well. In a word, Shirley was simply grateful for everything. Her soul was full, and so she gave so much to all of us who knew her and loved her. Anyone who spent time with Shirley knew that they were in the company of a unique and gifted individual whose head and heart and hands were extensions of her soul that was full and ready to give and to love. In the last days of her life, Shirley was at home in bed surrounded by her loving caregivers and dear family. And then, as Ellen said, she slipped away. One could say that she died as she lived, with graciousness. We might only mourn today if we thought that 96 years weren't enough, or if we didn't share time with her as we should have. We might also smile today, as she often did, because she was given 96 years to live as she chose to live them. What a blessing she was given. What a blessing she shared with us, and how grateful we are to God for the gift that is ours for a little while. But let us remember, our tradition teaches, a jewel that is lost remains a jewel forever. Zichrona livracha, may the memory of our dearest Shirley Toomim be a source of strength and blessing now and always. Amen. And now it's a great privilege to invite her granddaughter, Erica, to share her words.
It is truly an honor and a privilege to speak to you all today about my grandma, Shirley Toomim. Many of you know Shirley through professional relationships, her amazing philanthropy, or wonderful friendships. People like Shirley are a rare gift. There simply isn't anyone else quite like her. My grandma and I shared many common interests that I sometimes wonder if I subconsciously gravitated toward them simply because I wanted to be like her. We both adored lemon chicken, desserts but never chocolate, interior design, and filling our homes with ornate monkeys. Shirley taught me the importance of always dressing up and ensuring your home is filled with color. Whenever my mom and I go antiquing, I'll point to something I absolutely love and she'll say, "Okay, Grandma." I know she's referencing the stereotypical frumpy grandma, but since I didn't have one of those, I take it as a compliment and often feel inspired to buy it. My mom and I joke that these things must have skipped a generation. I came across a sign in an antique store that said, "Your grandma bought it, your mom sold it, and now you're trying to buy it back." It couldn't be more fitting. One of my fondest memories with my grandma was going to Dallas Market when I was a senior in high school. This is where she'd buy all the artwork and accessories for Star Furniture for the upcoming season. I never spent so much one-on-one time with her. Up until that point, I only knew her as my grandma. I now got to see her as Miss T, a businesswoman, one that was well-known and highly respected throughout the furniture industry. I learned a lot on that trip. The first thing I learned was that I was either really out of shape or my grandma has really high endurance. Both of those things were true. I kept asking if we could stop and sit down, and she said, "No, we have to keep moving." She was always such a kind grandma, so getting a no from her was a bit jarring. It was amazing to watch her walk into a showroom. The way people would run to the entrance to greet Miss T is something I'll never forget. I could only dream of receiving a similar reception. If you all knew her from work, you knew this was a standard greeting for her. I was with retail royalty, and they treated her as such. They would show her around the showroom, and anytime they would point to something that they loved but my grandma had distaste for, she would give them a look. They knew to stop selling that item and move on. It was amazing. I too had been given that look from her before. My grandma was never the loudest person in the room, but she had a way of making her opinion known without having to say much of anything, just this one look. We were in this one showroom, and the salesman was excited to show her the hottest item of the season. It was this dining chair that had turquoise wood and coral leather seating with a heavy pattern backing. She gave the look, and he was discouraged and ready to move on, but I spoke up and said it was the most gorgeous chair I'd have ever seen. I begged her to buy it. After a few minutes of convincing, I think she finally decided to put an end to my persistence by saying, "Okay, we can buy a few." She brought it into Star Furniture and sold it as the Erica chair. I was so proud of this chair. She told me it was a top seller, and to this day, I still wonder if she was just saying that to boost my confidence. Regardless, it gave me the belief that I too could be a buyer one day. I look back at the photo of that chair, and it's an absolutely ugly chair. It's an obvious sentiment now, but you should never question Shirley's taste. If you'd ever been to my grandma's office at Star Furniture or seen her desk at home, you'd know it was an absolute disaster. I'd be getting the look right now if I said that to her. She always insisted that it wasn't a mess. She knew exactly where everything was. Next to her desk, she had a sign that read, "A cluttered desk is a sign of a genius." and she truly embraced that mantra. When I was young, I loved running around Star. With my whole family working there, I felt like I ran the show. My mom would often take me to my grandma's office, and I'd offer to clean her desk. She had this huge, beautiful coral desk, but it was so piled up you could barely see the top, making it hard to even notice the color. I was one of the only people she'd trust to organize it, so my mom would seize the opportunity when I was there. We'd go through pile after pile, throwing away months-old magazines and unopened invitations. Now when I look at her home, I can't help but to love that messy desk. It was so uniquely hers. So that quote must hold true because in my eyes, my grandma was a genius. My daughter was born just about a year and a half ago, and we're so fortunate that Shirley had such quality time with her. Having 4 generations together in one room is something I'll never take for granted. We celebrated Harper's Hebrew naming at my grandma's beautiful home. Harper's Hebrew name is Simha, which means joy, and that is also my grandma's middle name. It brings me so much comfort to know that Harper's Jewish identity is so beautifully intertwined with my grandma's legacy. My grandma was always a proud Jewish woman. She was a pillar here at Beth Israel and rarely missed watching a Shabbat service. She knew the importance of tikkun olam, giving back. It was never something she taught her family, it was taught through action. She had such a major impact on our community, and her legacy will continue to live on. I know her and my papa left such a mark on this world. Not only will we get to share our favorite stories to keep their legacy alive, but the creation of the Shirley and David Family Foundation will outlive me and will impact generations to come with an emphasis on local Jewish needs. I feel so much comfort knowing she is with my papa, David. If I ever felt like there was a lull in a conversation, I could always rely on asking a question about my grandfather. She would light up when she would speak about him. She always had a sharp mind, but I would continue to be shocked by the details she would remember about my papa. Although there was a 10-year age gap, there was such a youthful spirit to them. I recently found a book called Grandfather Remembers, Memories for My Grandchild. My papa had only filled out the first few pages, but I wanted to recite some of the answers that he had written down about my grandma. My favorite thing he wrote was a statement that said, "I liked her because ... And he wrote, "She was refined, neat, sweet, and well-liked by everyone, a classy dame." When I read that answer to my grandma, she started blushing. It was like getting a new compliment from my papa all over again. One of the pages was about their engagement. Their courtship lasted 8 months, and he proposed to her at her home. Instead of popping the question, he said, "When are we getting married?" And she said, "Pretty soon." The rest was history. When we were at the hospital over a week ago, one of the nurses was standing outside of the door and called me over. She showed me her computer screen and said, "Wow, your grandma was a really big deal. She's on YouTube." My initial thought was, is this a HIPAA violation? I don't think you can Google your patients. My second thought was, you have no idea, that only scratches the surface. I was so thankful for that interaction because moments before I was holding my grandma's hand, wishing I could hear her tell a story one more time. She reminded me of an hour-long interview through the Houston Jewish History Archive. This is such a gift that we have, and I encourage you to watch the video whenever you miss sweet Shirley. Shirley was more than just a grandmother to me. She was an amazing mentor. She was perpetually elegant, even in the most challenging circumstances. She always remained composed and thoughtful. She was strong, independent, and always purposeful with her actions. She saw the good in everyone, and if there was ever a way she knew she could make a difference, she would do just that. There was never a lecture or an explanation, just an action. Throughout the years, I've learned so many valuable lessons. I know I will carry them with me for the rest of my life, passing them down to my children for generations to come. Grandma passed on the first night of Hanukkah, a story of light in times of darkness. I think that's a very fitting story for my grandma. Her legacy will shine bright forever. To know Shirley Toomim is to love Shirley Toomim. Though it's incredibly painful to say goodbye, I take comfort in knowing that my grandma's love and wisdom will live on through us. Her children, her grandchildren, her great-grandchildren, her family foundation, and all of us who had the privilege of knowing her. I will miss you and love you forever, Grandma.
And it's a privilege to invite Bill Ward to share his words, who knew her and the family through Star Furniture.
As you know, my name is Bill Ward. I was honored to work with Shirley for 47 years and fortunate to have had her in my life, part of my life, for 52 years. I'd like to thank Ellen and Steve Robinson and the entire family for allowing me the privilege to say a few words on this solemn occasion and the opportunity to celebrate such an exceptional person. As most of you know, Shirley and her brother David built such an exceptional furniture company that it was purchased by Warren Buffett of Berkshire Hathaway. In my opinion, the success was not only Melvin's business savvy and Shirley's incredible eye for design, but the fact that they created a culture where we all felt like family. And like a family, we worked hard together to be successful. Over the years, countless employees told me they stayed for decades because they felt valued and loved. The story goes, as I know it, Melvin joined Star after his father's passing, and he really had to negotiate with Shirley to get him to join him. He would run the business side, and Shirley would run the design side, although you just heard about Shirley's look, and she certainly had a lot to say about the business side. Melvin or anyone else ever imagined the talent would be so immense. At market, after all the new selections were made, Shirley would stay after everyone else and select every lamp, every wall hanging, every area rug, not to mention all the tchotchkes that go with it. She had an incredible taste level and an uncanny memory. She knew every store, where everything that was purchased was going to go, and how it would come together, and it always did. She would design a store. She was a walking AutoCAD before that type of design automation was ever available. Star became known for its incredible displays, which greatly contributed to its success. Throughout the furniture industry, she was admired and respected. Everyone from furniture reps to factory owners wanted to work with Shirley. Her work ethic was evident to me early in her career. On many Saturday afternoons, she would come to the store I was working at the time and work on the displays. Often, at the end of the day, I would hear her call David and say she was on her way. Hours later, I would look up, and there she was, still working hard. Many years later, I talked to David, and he said he knew if Shirley called from a Star phone number that it would be at least another 2 hours before she would be home. No matter how much time I spent with Shirley over the many years, I never heard her once talk about herself. It has only been through attending events where she was being honored or talking to others that I know of her many awards and accomplishments. She had a way of making others the center of attention. Shirley always had a full calendar, including up until recently when I would call and plan dinner, and it was always a couple of weeks before she would be available. That being said, she was always found time to be at every important event in my life, as she was for so many. Mrs. T was a trusted friend, a guiding light, a constant source of inspiration to live my life with grace and humility and always give back. Shirley, you made a lasting impression on this world, and you truly made a difference. We thank you, and we will always love you.
As we take time for our own thoughts and memories, Rabbi Scott will share a beautiful song that helps us to know that Shirley's presence still abides among us.
There are stars up above, so far away we only see their light, long, long after the star itself is gone. And so it is with people that we loved. Their memories keep shining ever brightly, though their time with us is done. But the stars that light up the darkest night, these are the lights that guide us as we live our days. These are the ways we remember. We remember as we live our days. These are the ways we remember. We remember. יש כוכבים שרם מגיע ארצם, רק אשר הם עצמם עבדו ואינם. יש אנשים שזיו זכרם מאיר, כאשר הם עצמם אינם עוד בתוכנו. אורות הלך המרחיקים בחשכת הליל, הם שמראים לאדם את הדרך, את הדרך. הם שמראים לאדם את הדרך, את הדרך. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. We remember. As we live our days, these are the ways we remember. We remember. We remember. We remember.
At the cemetery, we recited Kaddish and placed beautiful yellow roses in the grave. And though we don't have yellow roses for everyone here, I would like us to end our time together as we express once more this sacred praise to God for all that we've been given and for all that we hold dear. Please rise. In her honor and memory we say, Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach chirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon uv'yamechon v'chayei dechol Beit Israel, v'galav v'zman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shemei Rabbah mevorach le'alam ala me'al maya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, V'yidadar v'yitale v'yitalal shmeir gudashar brichu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechamata, damiram b'yama v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min Shemaya, V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'romav, hu yaseh shalom. Aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who causes peace to reign in the high heavens cause peace to reign upon this family, the circle of friends, and our sacred community. Amen. Rabbi Morris Adler wrote, "Those I have loved, though now beyond my view, have given form and quality to my being, and they live on, unfailingly feeding my heart and mind and imagination. They led me into the wide universe I continue to inhabit, and their presence is more vital to me than their absence. What thou givest, O Lord, thou takest not away, and bounties once granted shed their radiance evermore." Following our time in the sanctuary, all are welcome to join us in Wolf Toomim Hall for a meal of condolence. I'm told that some of Shirley's favorite foods and plenty of mustard are waiting for all of us. As well, on Thursday evening, January 2nd at 6 p.m., all are welcome for a Shiva Minyan, which will be held at the Montebello. Rabbi Rines and Cantor Feibush will join you there and lead. And now please remain in your places so that Rabbi Scott and I, pardon? Oh, the Minyan is at 6 p.m. The Minyan, this just in, the Minyan is at Sylvia Wolf's in Stablewood at 6 p.m. on Thursday. Now, if you'll remain in your places, it seems that it's time to go. Rabbi Scott and I would like to escort the family from the sanctuary, and we look forward to remembering Shirley in all the ways that we've been given.